All right. I figured I would try to go live again today. So let's give it a few minutes and let's chat. Figured I'd give it a bit of time. We can start talking about basically anything we want to chat about, but I figured it might be kind of fun to talk about something new. So this is kind of an ask me anything. What do you want to talk about when it comes to Freemasonry? And let's give it a bit of time and let's see who all shows up. Give it a few minutes, see who jumps in. Welcome. If you're just joining us, we're here doing another live stream on Square and Compass Promotions. Today, the purpose is to chat about anything. We always talk about Freemasonry. Yesterday, we had a great time. We were chatting about, well, lots of different things, but we're chatting primarily about this idea in Freemasonry, which is Freemasonry or Freemasons too afraid to fail, quote unquote, too afraid to fail. We talked a lot about that, about how failure can sometimes be a good thing if it stops you being risk averse. Today, chatting about anything we want to chat about. Tim Brown. First of all, welcome, Tim. Thank you so much. If you're just joining us, I'm hoping you can hit the like and subscribe button. And also, let me know how you came across this. Was this in your algorithm? How did you find our stream? Why do so many attack Masons? They were the founding fathers, question mark. I mean, so yes, many Masons were members or part of the founding fathers, including but not limited to Ben Franklin, George Washington. So George Washington may be the most famous. So you're absolutely right. And throughout history, many presidents, including very popular presidents, have been Freemasons. Harry Truman, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, for example. In terms of why do so many attack Masons, honestly, I think it's just a matter of at different times, conspiracy theorists will always kind of show up and pick a different target. And I think the reputation of being a secret society, for example, as well as just the desire for a political target. I think that as a consequence of that, you see the attacks taking place. And then individuals and social media allows for some of these conspiracies and some of these ideas and attacks to gain a lot more traction than they might otherwise also. So that, my opinion, is why we get those attacks. I personally try not to worry about it. People are going to believe what they're going to believe. I think for me, so long as I just try to be a good person and do my best to act appropriately around others, be kind, be generous, be respectful, all of that type of stuff, I hope that people will see that and recognize that if I'm a good person, hopefully that reflects positively upon the craft and people understand that we are actually good people. I hope that answers that question, Tim. Again, let me know if you could jump in the chat and let me know how you came across this stream. If you can hit the like and subscribe button and keep chatting. Are you yourself a Mason, or are you just interested in Freemasonry? Like I said, if you could let me know in the chat, I'd much appreciate it. If I recall correctly, I used to know this. I believe 19 of the founding fathers were Freemasons. I'm going to look this up on Google because I used to know the exact number. I'm kind of curious now. How many founding fathers? Actually, it's interesting when you Google search this. I'm going to share the screen for a second. It's interesting that when you share the screen, you'll notice the fourth question down. So when you type in how many founding fathers, the fourth question is, were Freemasons? So that's interesting. My grandfather was 33rd. He was good. I'm sure he was 33rd, so he was Scottish Rite. Yeah, no, I'm sure that he was a very good man, a very good Mason. All right, here we go. I was close. I said 19. 21 of the as many 21 were signers of the Declaration of Independence were Freemasons. Some of those well-known founding fathers: George Washington, Paul Revere, John Hancock, Benjamin Franklin. The first American lodge was established in 1733. My grandfather was 33rd. He was good Shriner. Okay, he was a Shriner. That's awesome. Shriners are so heavily involved in charitable efforts and charitable works. They're all good men. Young Philly, welcome. If you would be so kind, if you could hit the like button and the subscribe button, I'd really appreciate it. As well as let me know in the chat how you came across our us. Was it through the algorithm, through your search? Do you follow us on social media? But please like and subscribe. Why was King Solomon a Freemason? So King Solomon wasn't a Freemason. Freemasonry dates much later in time. The traditional date is 1717, but you could argue the 16th century. But King Solomon was is an important part of Masonic teachings from a moral standpoint. The building of King Solomon's Temple and the both historical and mythological aspects of that building do figure very importantly and significantly into Masonic ritual. But he himself was not a Freemason. He wasn't even really technically a stonemason, though he was highly influential in stonemasons, again, because the building of the temple required so many stonemasons to build it. I traced my lineage back to King Solomon. That's awesome. I didn't know you could trace your lineage back that far, young Philly, but very cool. FUTH8R, future. Albert Pike. Well, Albert Pike was a Freemason. He was also Scottish Rite, and he was heavily, he wrote Morals and Dogma. He was heavily, very, very influential when it came to the Scottish Rite ritual in particular. So welcome everybody who's just joining us. I appreciate the questions. Like I said, today it's all about chatting about anything we want. Yesterday we talked a lot about this idea of being afraid to fail, and are Freemasons too afraid to fail, and how we can maybe avoid that. Because I do think one of the greatest dangers that Freemasonry faces is being afraid to fail, which makes us, I think, far too risk averse. And risk aversion, I think, can be devastating to Masonic orders. It can be devastating to any order. Today, this is more an Ask Me Anything. I was made a Mason in 2007. So I've been a Mason for about 14 years. I don't have all the answers by any means, but I like to think I can at least chat about it, talk about why I'm doing this live stream, why I started Square and Compass Promotions, what my purpose is behind it, why I think Freemasonry is important, all that type of stuff. So let's give it a bit of time. For now, I'm going to assume that this is spelled future. You can find more information about Albert Pike in here. He was from 1809 to 1891. He was a prominent member of the Freemasons. He served as Sovereign Grand Commander of the Supreme Council of Scottish Rite, Southern Jurisdiction, 1859 to 1891. Here's information about his Masonic career. I invited the Brotherhood to do a ceremony at my father's funeral. I really appreciate it. Good. I'm glad that they did that. Yeah, Masonic funeral services are kind of one of the standard things that many Masons and Masonic lodges will do. It's an important part of being a Freemason, is organizing those, especially if you're a worshipful master of a lodge. So I'm glad you appreciated it. Are the lodges mainly for education and charity? Not mainly. I mean, though they can do both of those things. I mean, the purpose of a Masonic lodge is to provide a space in which membership can meet and support one another. But in the process of that, they can do any number of different things to achieve those goals. So some lodges will focus heavily on charity, or some Masonic organizations, such as the Shriners, will focus heavily on charity. Some will focus heavily on education and history. Some will focus on both. I would say a lodge meeting, honestly, is primarily for the continuation of the lodge. So what I mean by that is making sure that everything that needs to be done administratively, such as paying of bills, financing, all that stuff, is done. Because if the entire focus is education and charity and there's no focus on the administrative tasks necessary for a lodge, the lodge is not going to last too long. I think sometimes we in Freemasonry don't appreciate or talk positively enough about why those things are so important and why they matter so much. Welcome. If you're just joining us, this is the Square and Compass podcast. We're here today just having a live stream chatting about Freemasonry, and this is one of those chat about anything. So anything you guys want to talk about, it doesn't even have to be just about Freemasonry. It can be about anything at all, but I'm happy to chat. Yesterday, we had a great live stream. We talked about the idea of being afraid to fail in Freemasonry and why we shouldn't be afraid to fail. But if you could jump in the chat, say hello, please, if you can. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Both of those help major in terms of people finding the podcast. And let me know what you want to chat about. Let me know, in your mind, if you're a Mason and if you have an answer to Tim Brown's question, what do you think lodges are mainly for? Education, charity, or something else? A Google account. Welcome a Google account. As I was saying, if you could hit the like and subscribe buttons, I'd really appreciate it. Let me know how you found us as well, if it was in your algorithm. People attack them sometimes because of unorthodox lodges. So I believe a Google account. I could be mistaken. I believe you're referring there to unorthodox, what we would call clandestine lodges, which is an issue. So a clandestine lodge is a lodge that's not recognized by the main Masonic governing body in your jurisdiction. Um, and my view, um, my view on that has always been with the clandestine lodge. Like, if you want to start your own thing, your own lodge, and do your own thing, like whatever you can, but you have to be honest with people when they're joining that this isn't a recognized Masonic body. This is a different Masonic organization, right? I think it's really important. But the problem is sometimes the clandestine lodges will do things like they'll promise people you're going to get rich if you join. They promise people, you're going to get famous if you join. They, tell people, give us this much money and we'll give you back this much. All unorthodox or clandestine lodges can sometimes be scamming people. And the danger of that is when you scam people, people don't think, well, that was a clandestine lodge that scammed me, not a quote unquote real Masonic lodge. They just turn around and blame all Masonic lodges um, and all Masons for scamming them, and that can be obviously a real problem for the order as a whole. A Google account supposed to be both charity and education. Yeah, I think it obviously supposed to be both. I also think, like I was saying, it can also be um, and hopefully is about the preservation of the lodge and the administrative tasks necessary to do that. I think that's an underappreciated aspect of the craft. Or Mazda Grotto was Pappy's lodge. So the grotto, right? That would be a Shriner's grotto, although there are some lodges, Ann Arbor in Michigan, that meets in a grotto, for example. A Google account, consolidation of power in small towns occasionally. Yeah, that can happen just by default, right? I mean, I think that in a lot of cases, that wasn't the goal. They didn't want to consolidate power, but it's just, if you think about it, if you're in a town of 700 people, let's say, and you have a Masonic lodge, it may make sense for the person who wants to be the mayor and the person who wants to be a city councilor and the person who has an auto shop and whatever, all these people to join just as a way to network and meet other people. But eventually, more and more people end up joining these lodges, which end up, I think that can become a real issue in perception. Whereas in reality, it's just obviously a politician is going to want to join as many different bodies and organizations as he can, Masonic and otherwise. So if that makes any sense, education has fallen. It needs fixed. Yeah, a lot of people are saying that. You're not the first to say that in a Masonic lodge, there's not enough of an emphasis on Masonic education. I don't know. I agree with that. I think Masonic education can add a lot to a meeting, and I think it can really help and make it a lot more enjoyable for everybody involved. But I do think, well, I guess, let me ask you this, a Google account, if you can throw in the chat. What what do you think, like, how would you define education in a Masonic context? What do you think Masonic education looks like? Because we've had this actually conversation on the podcast before, on several different occasions. So I'd be curious to know more. It caused a lot of trouble decades ago, conflicts of interest. It can, well, that, for sure. Yeah. I mean, there's going to be issues that pop up in relation to this. So it does make sense to me that there could be conflicts of interest. I know in England, for example, they were asking people to disclose whether or not they were Freemasons. So it can be really challenging in that sense. But I'm hoping that some of that it goes away. And again, it's usually not, I think, a plan. It's just what happens over time because, again, different politicians are going to want to join as many different organizations as they can. including but not limited to the Masonic Lodge. So I think that's kind of what happens there. By the way, if you're just joining us, if you can hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, the more people we have liking and subscribing to this stream, the more people will find the chat and be able to check us out. So I would appreciate it. The more liking and subscribing we have. Thank you so much. Learning material, coloring books, maybe I've never heard anybody mention an app before when it comes to education. That's interesting. There are Masonic apps out there. Amity is actually, or Amity is a big one, and it's a great one. So that one could work really, really well. And I think it's worth checking out. Tim Brown, alchemy, or is that Templar? I'm not sure. Like alchemy, that's the process of turning lead into gold, something to that effect, right? I mean, I think the Templars, because they were knights, but they were also kind of bankers in some sense. They're focused a lot on banking and storing gold. I'm not sure, though, I've never heard of alchemy as it relates to Freemasonry, but that's not to say it doesn't. I'd be curious to know more about that. It'd be worth checking out for sure. It can be used as education for self-improvement. Alchemy is a good thing to learn. Well, that'd be a very special type of education. Alchemy is the father of chemistry. Okay, cool. I did not know that. I mean, let me go to Google quickly because now I'm kind of curious about this. Or actually, we're going to stick to Wikipedia. Thank you, Wikipedia, for your help. I'm just on another page for 1 second. Alchemy is an ancient branch of natural philosophy, a philosophical and proto-scientific tradition that was historically practiced in China, India, and the Muslim world, and Europe. Alchemists attempted to purify, mature, and perfect certain materials. Common aims were chrysopoeia, the transmutation of base metals, such as lead, into noble metals, particularly gold, the creation of elixir of mortality, and the creation of panaceas to cure any disease. The original stone builders used alchemy to form stones. And what's like in the sense of like melting stones, using chemicals to melt stones, because that was very possible. Alchemy started in Kemet, Upper Egypt. That's interesting. I did not know that. Here's what we got here. Just give me 1 second. Let's see where its origins were. The start of Western alchemy may generally be traced to ancient and Hellenistic Egypt, where the city of Alexandria was a center of all alchemical knowledge and retained its preeminence through most of its Greek and Roman periods. Actually, that's interesting that you say that. Yes, melting them, glyphs in Central America showing them spraying stone. That's really kind of interesting to hear because I kind of focused on, I had a Medium channel, or still do, where I talked about that. And I'm trying to get more data about Mesoamerican stonemasonry, because one thing in Freemasonry, we focus a lot on stonemasonry, either in the sense of European stone guilds or in the sense of ancient Egypt or Egyptian stones and stonework. We tend not to talk so much about stonemasonry from Mesoamerica, such as the Aztecs and the Mayans, as well as we tend not to talk a lot about Celtic stonemasons, like Stonehenge, for example. And so I did read about the idea of the Aztecs and Mayans melting stones as a way to join them, their version of stonemasonry. And I've been trying to study more about that. FU sounds right. Soften and then chisel away with copper chisel, like half hard clay. Yeah, that's what a few people have been saying based on my research, which I thought was really cool. and worth checking out some more. The Olmec face stones were originally perfect spheres. They used an early detection of earthquake disturbances. So, like if the stone started to roll, for example, they know that an earthquake was on the way. Because if so, that is really, really cool. Look at cases of stones put together with metal. How'd they cut the inlet acids or how? Well, I mean, even Hannibal famously, when he was crossing the Alps to get to ancient Rome, um, used vinegar to melt the stones, right? Stonehenge, Easter Island, Globe, Globeki, Globeki, Tepe, Sumer, Egyptian builders all came from the Americas. I'm not sure if I buy that. I mean, I think the American builders had their own kind of development. I mean, it makes sense to me that people would independently come up with similar building techniques or similar designs for things like a pyramid, for example. Malta has metal in the geopolymer. I have no idea what that even means. I mean, I know where Malta is. I don't know what the geopolymer. Let me stop sharing for this for 1 second. Let's see. So geopolymer is a non-crystalline inorganic material that's made up of covalently bonded mineral molecules. That's super interesting. Let me just share this for 1 second. Bali has interesting stonework. I might look that up as well because I'm trying to focus more on different types of stonework and stonemasonry, as opposed to what traditionally gets talked about in Freemasonry. Let me stop sharing this for 1 second. In Indonesia, right? Oh, here it is. I'm going to share this screen for just 1 second. Mayan ruins have metal marks from those. America's always been the land of destruction. The survivors popped up all over the world. Great Pyramid Khufu was the pillar of Enoch, completed 2815 BC. I think that's about right for the date, if I recall correctly, from what I read. Though I'm not sure if, again, I think I've heard kind of this theory before. Oh, I'm going to get rid of this idea before of ancient civilizations kind of reseeding and repopulating the earth time after time. I've never personally bought it myself. I think it's far more likely that people are just independently coming up with these kind of ideas over time. There's nothing you will find anywhere in the world that's not found in the ancient Americas. But that could also be, you could say the reverse as well, right? There's nothing you can find in the ancient Americas isn't found in the rest of the world. Because human beings, I think, are by definition kind of naturally going to come up with the same conclusions. Supposedly, there's really weird stonework in Iran that nobody knows who built it. Rooms on pillars, like a birdhouse kind of for people. Maybe a tomb, very odd. That's interesting. I mean, might be worth checking that out. I am really happy though that FUTH8R, I'm going to just call him Future, mentioned Bali because that's really, really cool. I did not know about Bali having this fancy stonework here, but it looks absolutely beautiful. And again, I've been trying to focus a lot on this idea of stone masonry that often gets overlooked. So that's one right there. India has some very strange stonework. I'm going to look up that and see what I can find on that as well. And anybody who's watching this for the first time, while I look up India and its stonework, if you could please hit the like button and the subscribe button, both of which help other people find this. We're here today to chat about Freemasonry, but really we're here today to chat about anything that we want to chat about. Right now we're talking about the ancestor of Freemasonry, which is stonemasonry. And stonemasonry being found all over the world, including in India, which oftentimes I've said before, I think Freemasonry doesn't spend enough time focusing on stonemasons from cultures outside of Europe and Egypt. And I think even me, I taught more about we need to focus on Mesoamerica and ancient America stonework, like the Mayans, as well as Celtic stonework and prehistoric stonework. But I didn't have really talked about India or kind of Asian stonework. And we're just talking about India and Bali now. So if we share this screen here. Supposedly there's, India is a leader in the stone industry with a variety of natural stones and a rich history of stonework. India has a wealth of natural stones including granite, marble, sandstone, limestone, and slate. India is known for producing some of the world's strongest granite, which comes in over 120 colors. Belize has some interesting ruins and a pyramid. Here's some of their stonework examples. Konark Sun Temple, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Built in the 13th century, this temple includes a base with 24 intricately carved wheels, some of which are still used as sandals. Great Stupa at Sanchi, commissioned by the Mauryan Emperor Ashoka in the 3rd century BCE. This is one of India's oldest stone structures. That might be worth, I'm going to hit the link to this one. Oh, here it is. Because that's actually would kind of make it almost concurrent or contemporary with the pyramids in Egypt. It's like a Mayan step one and giant ball rocks just lying, or steeped. Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's like a Mayan steeped one and a giant ball of rocks just lying around. So a lot of pyramids are steeped like that, not just in the Americas. But we're going to look up that as well. I'm going to look up Belize Pyramid in a second. But this is really cool to see as well. Sanchi Stupa is a Buddhist complex famous for its great stupa on a hilltop. So it's one of the oldest stone structures in India and an important monument to the historical architecture of India. It was originally commissioned by the Mauryan Emperor Ashoka in the 3rd century BCE. Its nucleus was a simple hemispherical brick structure built over the relics of Buddha. It was crowned the chhatra, a parasol-like structure symbolizing high rank, which was intended to honor and shelter the relics. And that's really, really cool. Thank you for letting me know about that. So we can look up Belize next. In the meantime, though, please jump in the chat. Let me know what you want to talk about. Also, hit the like and subscribe button if you can. I wonder if Wikipedia has anything about it. Belize Pyramid. Maya ruins of Belize. There we go. Let's share the screen here. The Mayan ruins of Belize include a number of well-known and historically important pre-Columbian Maya archaeological sites. It's part of the southern Maya lowlands of the Mesoamerican culture area, and the sites found there were occupied from pre-classic until after the arrival of the Spanish in the 16th century. Many sites are endangered due to destruction by construction companies, which frequently source the road fill. Oh, that's a shame. Um, they really built them to last. Granite is forever. I did not know that. I mean, I guess it makes sense. Granite is going to last a long time, or forever. The copper that fed the Bronze Age came from Lake Michigan. Does Lake Michigan even have copper? I'm curious about that now. Let's see. Lake Michigan copper. There you go. So at least we know that is true. I'm just going to share this screen. Copper has been mined in Michigan for thousands of years, and the state's Upper Peninsula is rich in copper deposits. Indigenous peoples began mining copper in the Keweenaw Peninsula at least 8,000 years ago. The first English attempt to mine copper in Michigan was in 1771 by Alexander Henry. Copper deposits in Michigan are found in fissures, veins, and in the Portage Lake lava series. The native copper ore is often accompanied by other minerals, including chalcocite, I don't know what that is, copper, arsenite, calcite, quartz, epidote, chlorite, and zealots. Copper was cold hammered into knives, points, ornaments, and other tools. They shipped copper down the Mississippi out the Gulf of the East. That's cool. I would, copper was obviously a pretty critical and pretty important material. I guess call it a mineral for not just for everybody, right? The Copper Age was so important. Or I guess it was the Bronze Age, but then copper was still a pretty vital and important material. Great Lakes weren't there until the 1300s. I think the Great Lakes were there a lot longer than that. I got to be honest. I'm not so sure that they were just there in the 1300s. I'm just kind of curious to see when the Great Lakes formed. The tin came from the British Isles. I'm just curious when the Great Lakes were formed. I'm trying to get onto Wikipedia to check this out. All right, hold on just one sec. I'm just going to jump in. LOL, not trying to convince you. Do your research. Well, I appreciate, though, you taking the time to share it with me because hopefully it does make me interested and wanting to learn some more or research that stuff some more. Actually, I live in Windsor, so I live on the Great Lakes, or at least on the Detroit River, which will lead to, which connects into the Great Lakes. And I spend a lot of time visiting Chicago, which is on the other side of the Great Lakes, but again, it's a coastal city. So that is pretty cool as well. Yes, the tin came from the British Isles, the copper is from America in the 1800s. These things were widely known. For some reason, after 1902, everything was scrubbed. It'd be really hard to scrub everything from back in the day, though, right? Like now, kind of with the internet, I think it's probably in some ways easier to track stuff down and scrub it because you can just use computer codes. Though I don't even know. I say that I have no idea how it works in terms of computer codes and scrubbing things. Honestly, it's probably just as hard, if not harder, to scrub things now as it was back then. Are you familiar with the mound builder civilizations in your region? Um, yeah, I mean, define familiar. I know of them. I understand that actually the biggest mounds were not found in our region, but were found in Colorado Somewhere in the States is where the biggest um, mounds were found, if I recall correctly. Let me just search that quickly. Yeah, mound builders were pre-Columbian um, cultures in North America. Right, I don't. So Louisiana, Ohio Valley. I'm not sure if there are any mounds or any mound builder peoples here in Windsor, Essex County. They do have them in Ohio, which is kind of closer to us, actually. Um, how many books from the 1800s have you read? Uh, Not a ton. I mean, like scientific books, historical books. I mean, I've read a lot of, Frankenstein, Jekyll and Hyde, Dracula, all of those, but I haven't read a lot of others. I read a lot of previous and even older stuff. I love, for example, ancient Roman Greek. So I read my Livy and Polybius and all that back in the day. The mound in the Mississippi is like an Aztec pyramid made of earth. Yeah, I've learned a little bit more about that. And I was interested because I was trying to think how best can you tie that into this idea of stonemasonry, like building things out of mud. Can you take that and then combine that with the idea of stonemasonry more in general? I thought was really interesting. Mound builders were all over the Americas, but there are some interesting sites in your region. See, I did not know that. I'm curious. I'm going to actually Google search that because I'd love to check that out. I haven't heard of mound builders as it relates to like the Essex County region. Mound builders, I'm going to say Southern Ontario. Oh, here it is. The Hopewellian mound builders from Ohio influenced the construction of burial mounds in Southern Ontario, particularly in the Rice Lake area, built in the first millennium. I don't actually know where the Rice Lake area is. I'm curious about that. Rice Lake area. The lake is, yeah, but where is it? Okay, so it's actually, it looks like it's kind of around Toronto, a little bit actually past Toronto, so about 5 hours away from me here in Windsor, Essex. Scott Cull, Rock Lake in Wisconsin has stone structures on its bottom that are very odd. I'm going to look that up now in a second too. Maybe share that on my screen. By the way, Scott, if you haven't done so yet, if you could hit the like button and the subscribe button, I'd really appreciate it. As well as let me know how you came across and found this live stream. Was it on your feed? Rock Lake. Rock Lake, Wisconsin, stone structures. Rock Lake, Wisconsin, stone structures. Let's see. I'm going to share the screen in just 1 second. Thank you so much, Scott. I do appreciate it very much. All right, here we go. Legend states that at the bottom of Rock Lake, a fishing hole east of Madison in the town of Lake Mills, lies ancient pyramids, a 200-foot long figure made of rock and ruins. Those who believe in the legend say pre-Columbian origin settlers originally built these structures on land before the area was flooded in the 1800s. And we got JC Archaeology. I'm going to check that one out because I'm kind of curious now. Let's see. The Enigma in the Lake, the Rock Lake Pyramids. All right, let's see. Hmm. The Rock Lake itself is a small lake in southeastern Wisconsin, adjacent to the town of Lake Mills, Wisconsin. Now I'm kind of curious where Lake Mills, Wisconsin is, because I actually spent a lot of time in north of Chicago, which is not too far from Wisconsin border, I think. So let's see. Lake Mills, Wisconsin. I'm sure if nothing else, this is super helpful when it comes to Wisconsin for tourism, or at least Mills, to get people out to check it out. I'm kind of thinking if I want to go check it out. So I'm just trying to figure out how easy it would be to get to it from Glenview. These were pre-flood civilizations. They were much larger humans than today. When you say that, do you mean much larger humans like the people were just bigger, or do you mean the number of people was much larger? Um, so it's 1 hour and 47 minutes to get from Glenview to Lake Mills, Wisconsin. Um, Kurimo Ahua on YouTube reads 1800s books out loud, describing all of these ancient American sites. Let's check him out quickly. Just waiting for it to load up. Kira's going to check out K-U-R-I, let's see, K-U-R-I-M-E-O. A-H-U-A. True History, Washington Mers. Well, I mean, he seems to be doing pretty well in terms of the number of people that he's got. And he's got a cool thumbnail as well. Let me see if I can share this screen for just 1 second. If you do get the chance and you want to check him out, I'll check him out as well and see some of the stuff he's reading. Also, in terms of what I've kind of written on this subject or talked about on this stuff, I'm going to share a link in just 1 second. Everything was larger: the people, the animals, the vegetation. Jason Brashears has some great books on the ancient giants. 270 book bibliography. All right. Well, let me see in the meantime, though, if I can share with you guys something that I've written recently. From my Medium account. All right. This here was kind of my contribution to this idea of ancient civilizations, the first stonemasons, the first stonemasonry, the first example of it, to what age the stonemasonry date. You can find it on Medium. So hopefully you guys will check that out. Click on the link. You can leave here for a second. I'm not going anywhere. And then you can follow us on Medium as well, and maybe hit the like and subscribe button. Or not, this follow button, I should say, on Medium. I always get the two mixed up. Jason Brashears. I'll check out Jason Brashears. I mean, maybe I'll even see, I can invite him onto the podcast at some point, because like I said, I do want Freemasonry and Freemasons. I think we need to spend more time focusing not just on stonemasonry from Egypt and medieval Europe, but also to focus on stonemasonry from other cultures, Mesoamerican cultures, as well as Celtic cultures, and then some of the stuff we talked about today, India, Asian stonemasonry, different techniques, and even in my case, the Paleolithic age and the very first stonemasons being our ancestors from an evolutionary perspective. Welcome, everybody, for just joining us. We're here today to chat about anything. We have been talking for now about ancient stone masonry and different examples of it, and including some different theories as to where it originated or from whence it came. So I'm hoping you guys can join us, hit the like and subscribe button. But we don't just have to talk about stonemasonry, though I do think it's important that if you are Freemason, you at least think about stonemasonry because it is and does represent kind of the foundations of Freemasonry, if nothing else in a metaphorical and moral sense. There's a lot of other great things we can chat about as well. Gobekli Tepe. I think you mentioned that before. Somebody mentioned that before. Let's see if I can find some pictures of it. Gobekli Tepe. It's a Neolithic archaeological site in the southeastern Anatolia region of Turkey. I think, wasn't this supposed to be Troy? Oh, no, it wasn't. 11,000 plus years old. Yeah, no, I think I remember reading about this before. I think it was maybe part of the Trojan civilization, right, which of the Iliad that was based on, because it would be in the same region as Troy. Troy was on the water, obviously. Neolithical archaeological site in southeastern Anatolia region of Turkey. The settlement was inhabited from 9500 BCE to at least 8000 BCE. During the pre-pottery Neolithic, it is famous for its large circular structures that contain massive stone pillars, among the world's oldest known megaliths. Many of these pillars are decorated with anthropomorphic details, clothing, and sculpture reliefs of wild animals, providing archaeologists rare insights into prehistoric religion and the particular iconography of that period. You would need to spend some time researching Jason. He is the top chronologist in the world. 1,200 book bibliography, 12 published books. Archaics. Is that the name of his YouTube channel or kind of his company that does the work? Let me know in the chat. But that does bring up kind of the interesting question, right? We're talking a lot about this, which is, here, let me see if I can even put this as a poll question. I'm trying to think of the best way to write it. Here, I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. I'm going to say it like this. What is the most important site as it relates to stone masonry? Oops, actually here, I'm going to put this as a Q&A. The remains of Troy were also found in Turkey. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I think they're part of the same civilization, just different times. Let's look up Troy. Actually, I remember I used to really like Greek mythology and Greek history. So I remember looking up and knowing a lot about the Trojan War and Troy and things like that. It's been a while, so I've kind of lost. I don't have the same knowledge I used to. Yeah, the place was first settled around 3600 BC and grew into a small fortified city around 3000. During its 4,000-year existence, Troy was repeatedly destroyed and rebuilt. As a result, the archaeological site has been left divided into 9 layers. So Troy 0, 3600 to 3000 BC. There are depictions of comets on it. They are represented as fiery snake-like creatures. There was a meteor swarm around 12,800 years ago. It may have been brought on the younger Dryas cooling period. Pardon me, I should have said comets. Well, I mean, I think if there were shooting stars in the sky, which are comets, right, it makes sense that the Trojans and different or not even like Neolithic and Bronze Age civilizations would kind of represent those, would want to take the time to share those. Yes, the books from the 1600s through the late 1800s. Cool. It would be worth, I'm going to check him out for sure. So I'm going to check out Archaics and make a note of that. And maybe, like I said, I can get this gentleman on the podcast. I need to look up some of his stuff because I don't know about any of it right now. Heinrich Schliemann. Yes, he did. I remember in school I learned about him a little bit. It was pretty amazing the stuff that he did, because I think a lot of people doubted him. A lot of people thought before him that the Iliad and the Odyssey were completely works of complete mythology and there was no truth to them at all. And it was him who found the site of Troy in Turkey, and him who kind of convinced people that no, it was actually, there's some truth to it. Obviously, there is an element of mythology to it as well, but that doesn't mean there's not also an element of truth to it, which usually I think is how things most often go. It's a combination of truth and mythology. I'm sure that'll be the same thing, when it comes to our civilization. 5,000 years from now, they'll have some things right about us and some things will be mythologized about us. I'm also sure that's true of Freemasonry. And welcome to everybody who's just joining us. If you want to jump in the chat and say hello. Right now we're chatting about stone masonry and some examples from the ancient world of stone masonry, including in Turkey, in what was the Trojan archaeological site, as well as global techie. So let me know if you find this stuff interesting, but we can talk about anything else you want. Somebody earlier was asking about the purpose of a Masonic lodge and what that purpose is, whether it is for education or for charity. Let me know what you think. Actually, we'll make that the poll question. We're going to say, what is the purpose of a Masonic lodge? Education, charity, other. Let me know what you guys think. Jump in the, you can answer the poll question. Even if you're not a Mason, I'd be really curious to know kind of, if you're not a Mason, what you think of this poll question based on what you've seen of Freemasonry, even in this podcast. All due respect, the ancient calendars were all day count systems. Yes, they thought it was all myth. Yeah, but no, I think Schliemann was the first person to point out that there's probably some truth in it. And I think he was able to use the Iliad and use what was written to kind of gauge that there was some truth in it, and use it to find the site of Troy and what we kind of have now. So what is the purpose of a Masonic lodge? Interesting. We got 3 votes and 3 different answers. 1 for education, 1 for charity, and 1 for other. Let me know in the chat what you answered, if you would like, and also why you picked the one that you picked. Got an even split, which is kind of fascinating. mean, my personal choice, I would pick other myself. Um, but there's a lot of different there's a lot of value in all of the above answers. So he was a stonemason, not Freemason. I'm sure we'd come to talk on stone structures for hours, though. Oh, yeah. I mean, well, I think like one thing I love about the podcast is we don't just have to have Masons on it. And I make a real effort and a real point to not to look outside of Freemasons, but to people who have knowledge or interests that would be of benefit to Freemasons. I've had historians, economists, a lot of different types of people on the podcast who are not themselves Masons. In fact, my last episode, I'm going to see if I can find it and I'll share a link to it. My last actually proper podcast episode was with um, a paranormal investigator who's not a Mason, but he's done paranormal investigations at the different Masonic temples. See if I can do this one. And I do take, like I said, a great deal of pride in the fact that my podcast tries to bring in and involve non-Masons as well as Masons. All right. Here we go. That's the link there. I'm not a Mason. I have found that hungry members. My opinion is it can be used for self-development. However, I think lower level members are used for income. It's an interesting point that you make. And unfortunately, I think in some cases you're not completely wrong. It's not used for income. I wouldn't put it quite in that sense, though I understand what you mean. I think unfortunately what happens is lodges are like to maintain a Masonic lodge is expensive. You have to pay for the building, you have to pay for your meals, you have to pay for all sorts, you have to pay for Grand Lodges assessments, all sorts of things. And a lot of lodges have this idea of the most important thing is just getting as many members as you can in. And, because that way every year you can collect their dues. And you hope that the member wants to advance and become active in Freemasonry, but whether he does or he doesn't, so long as you're getting that income, just let them through. And I think a lot of lodges are turning away from that now. They're saying we're not going to just focus on getting dues and getting revenue, but we're actually going to focus on trying to grow the membership and get more people to be active. But a lot of times, especially at that initiation stage, when somebody puts in an application, Masons are thinking about the fact that that's more money we can get for our pockets and for our lodges, and not thinking enough about how well will this applicant do in a Masonic context, and will he advance, or will he enjoy it? I wouldn't really use the term lower level as well, like lower versus I don't think there's such thing as like a lower level members. There are members who do more, members who do less. But at the end of the day, every member is paying the same amount of money, paying the same dues basically to the lodge. So I think Masons are too interested in using all of their members for income, and not focused enough on things like education, charity, and self-development and self-improvement. The Phoenix symbol of Freemasonry is interesting me. Knowing it was the original seal of America, you'll do some digging now on the internet to verify it, though. Well, isn't the symbol what the eagle with the, I don't remember, it's like the olive branch in one talon and the arrows in the other? Let's see. Phoenix symbol of Freemasonry. Let's Google search that. So yeah, I've never heard of um, phoenix as being a Masonic symbol, and I'm not sure. I don't think I've seen any phoenixes as it relates to being a Masonic symbol. I have seen, and that's what Google is saying as well. Our connections know the phoenix is not a symbol of Freemasonry, but it does represent many ideas that are similar to some Masonic symbols: immortality, resurrection, and life after death, renewal and regeneration, the sun, the all-seeing eye, the squared compasses, the double-headed eagle. It is the symbol most often associated with the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry and represents the universality of the fraternity and its teachings. I mean, I'm not a 33rd. I believe that it is the double-headed eagle is the 33rd degree in Scottish Rite represented. But thank you everybody for joining us. This has been a great live stream so far. It's been a lot of fun. So I appreciate everybody being here. Interesting also how this vote that we're doing, we got 3 votes. A perfectly even split. What is the purpose of a Masonic Lodge? Education, charity, and other. Each got 1 vote. So that's kind of interesting. I mean, it's interesting also just the Phoenix myth in general, how connected that is to so many different ideas, right? Like when you're not a big fan of his, but Jordan Peterson talks about this idea of like playing in the space of ideas and what kind of that means. And I think that that kind of means taking ideas from like the Phoenix myth and applying it to other areas. Here's, I'm going to switch this up a little bit. I've enjoyed this topic, but I kind of want to jump on a different topic. And again, I'm going to start this poll. Is it possible to be perfect? I'm going to let you know what I mean by that in a second, but I am generally curious as to what people want to say in the poll and what they think of that. While you're doing that, I'm going to look up kind of how I define being perfect and why I think it is possible to be perfect. And in the meantime, also, though, let me know whatever it is you want to chat about. Please let me know also in the chat. We don't have to talk about this stuff I'm interested in. We can also talk about stuff outside of Freemasonry. Like I love scary movies and I love Hallmark Christmas movies. They're both 2 of my favorite types of movies. So any chance to talk about that stuff, I always want to do. So we have got 2 votes, both saying no so far. Let's give it a couple more minutes, see if anybody else wants to jump in. But I'm going to, because I think the answer is yes, it is possible to be perfect. Let me see if I can show why in just one sec. If I can just Needle Eldine, what about the Grand College of Rights in the United States of America? I don't know very much, Needle, about the Grand College of Rights, to be honest with you. I'll look that up quickly on Google. I've heard of it, but I can't say The Grand College of Rites was established by 9 Master Masons in Washington in 1932. For the purpose of controlling and preventing the resurrection of abandoned and unauthorized rituals in the United States. It collects these rituals from extinct organizations and prints these in an annual volume called Collectania. I know they are defunct degrees. Yeah, they are. Let me see. This is what it says here. For future, once again, that's how I'm saying it until I hear otherwise. I see perfection all around me, looking at creation. However, I'm perfectly imperfect. Yeah, well, that is, I think, what kind of look at the idea of perfection is that everybody's kind of perfect in their imperfections. They're perfect in their own ways. And I do believe that to be the case. But also, I think the idea of being perfect is not so much about the end result being perfect, but rather about the amount of effort and time you put into something. And that is what it means to be perfect. All right, I'm going to share my favorite sports movie of all time. I think, like I said, best sports movie of all time is Friday Night Lights. I'm going to give it a second to load up because I know it can take a second. But then this to me is my idea of what it means to be perfect and why I think that it is possible, based on this definition, for anybody, including a Freemason, to be perfect. Give me just one sec. If you can't hear it, I hope you guys can read it, but let me know how the sound comes through for you. All right, and take a second, vote in the poll. Is it possible to be perfect? Hit the like and subscribe button and check out this this speech.
You got 2 more quarters and that's it. Now, most of you have been playing this game for 10 years. And you got 2 more quarters, and after that, most of you will never play this game again as long as you live. Now, you all have known me for a while, and for a long time now, you've been hearing me talk about being perfect. Well, I want you to understand something. To me, being perfect is not about that scoreboard out there. It's not about winning. It's about you and your relationship to yourself and your family and your friends. Being perfect is about being able to look your friends in the eye and know that you didn't let them down because you told them the truth. And that truth is that you did everything that you could. There wasn't one more thing that you could have done. Can you live in that moment as best you can with clear eyes and love in your heart? With joy in your heart. If you can do that, gentlemen, then you're perfect.
So I think that I've always really liked that quote. I've always really liked that speech. I've always really liked that idea of when it comes to the idea of what does it mean to be perfect. It's not about the result. It's possible to be perfect and still fail. I truly do believe that. What I think is, when it comes to being perfect, really what it's about is, just like he says, the relationship you have between yourself and your family and your friends, or yourself and your Masonic lodge, and being able to say that you gave as much as you could to your Masonic lodge self, to whatever it is you needed to give to, that you worked as hard as you could for your friends, for your brothers in the case of Masonry, and you gave your brothers everything that you could. If you can say that, then I do think that you can say that you're perfect, whether or not at the end of the day you win or lose, lose, or draw. You can say you gave all that you possibly could. And I guess everybody kind of has to make that decision for themselves, whether they feel like they did give all that they could. you know, sup, and I think perfect is a loose term. Yeah, well, everybody's going to define it kind of differently, you know. Courtney, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. It's great to have you here. Really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here. Rando, self-mastery is a better term. I think so. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. But maybe self-mastery, we could argue self-mastery is a type of perfection in and of itself, right? Um, Certainly, hopefully, and I think that is a Masonic thing as well, right? This idea of the rough ashlar to the perfect ashlar, this idea of, you know, perseverance being necessary to establish perfection. What we see in our tools, in the Masonic tools and the morals that they impart. I think all of that can and often is related to the idea of perfection and what perfection means. Rando, I get you. Thank you so much. Yeah, and thank you for coming back here, by the way. Let me know if you searched for this, by the way, or if you actually, you know, if it popped up on your feed or you got a notification. I'm always curious to know how people find these live streams. Future good points. Thank you. I appreciate that. Actually, I wrote about it again to change spots for a moment. I wrote about it in a Medium article, my ideas on this. Courtney, chat. Hello, Courtney. I'm going to see if I can find it. Maybe I won't find it. Let's see if I can. Give me what. The big picture of Freeman in 2024. Be perfect. I'm going to share this link with you guys, and let me know what you think. Oh, interesting. So we have 5 votes. Is it possible to be perfect? Yes, 60%. No, 40%. Cool. So it looks like the yes is jumping up a little bit from the no. Hopefully, maybe it's based on what I was sharing. I'm going to share this screen as well. And also, please, by all means, find us on Medium and also follow us there for our written work. But I like this idea again of Vic, right? And I wrote this in December of 2023 as we were approaching 2024. 2023 was hard. I said, which it absolutely was. 2024 will be harder, which I think turned out to be a true statement. This is true for both Freemasonry and the world, right? I don't want to get in, and I wrote this here, get in details of the challenges both will face. I think most readers recognize the precarious state of the world, especially political, as of this date. I also think most readers also recognize the challenges related to increasing polarization and divisions amongst individuals of varying beliefs, political and otherwise. Freemasonry is not enough to overcome these challenges, but perfect Freemasonry is. And what is perfect Freemasonry? In 2024, Masonic perfection will be necessary more than ever to heal the world and resolve the challenges it is facing. In Friday Night Lights trailer, Billy Bob Thornton, the coach states, "The hopes and dreams of an entire town are resting on your shoulders. You might never matter more than you do right now." In 2024, the hopes and dreams of the world rest on, amongst other things, Freemasonry and the shoulders of Freemasons. In 2024, Freemasonry and Freemasons may never matter more than this year, which honestly, I think in some ways is true, but I think It's going to be even more true in 2025 and maybe even more true in 2026. We need to give everything to make our fraternity and lodges a success. We need to give everything to promote unity, peace, commitment, service, charity, optimism in ourselves, and optimism in our institutions, and all the things that make Freemasonry a shining light in what can be a too often dark and challenging world. So in 2024, be perfect. And I talk here about kind of more what I mean. Masonic perfection isn't about delivering perfect ritual. It isn't about getting it right every time or even most of the time. Masonic perfection isn't about a Masonic career without mistakes. Masonic perfection is about a Mason's relationship with himself, his brothers, and his lodge. It's about the ability for Mason to look his brother in the eye and know that he didn't let them down, that he gave as much as he could to make his lodge a success, that he gave as much as he could to make Freemasonry a success, that there wasn't one more thing that he could have done for his lodge in particular or Freemasonry in general. If a Mason can do that, with clear eyes and love in his heart, with joy in his heart, he is perfect. So that's why I say I believe it is possible to be perfect. Let me know what you think of that as well. Anything else you want to talk about? How important do you think Freemasonry is to the world? Do you think that it is necessary, as I do, to try to heal some of the divisions and challenges the world is facing? And in what ways do you think it is necessary or possible? Do you think that places too much emphasis on Freemasonry? And Freemasons shouldn't really be thinking about that type of stuff, focusing on that. The focus instead should simply be on making the lodges be a success and letting kind of the rest of the chips fall where they may. Because I think that goes into this idea of like almost this focus on what can you control versus what can't you control. Because I think sometimes, if you are spending so much of your time and your efforts trying to be perfect and save the world, I mean, the world is a very hard place to save, famously, right? I think they talk about this in Angel, one of my favorite TV shows. Maybe I can find that. We can talk about that for a second. But I am going to share this, by the way, a link to this, and I'm hoping you can see. You can click on this link here. And by all means, join us. All right, so although I am going to change that thumbnail. Apparently, I can't spell epiphany. I mean, I think this speech here is kind of a way I've been trying to think about things as it relates to Freemasonry as well. And kind of the way I kind of view some of the challenges and the fights that you have and how you kind of try to, the hope I can kind of take in sometimes what feels like fighting a constantly losing battle and trying to change the world and or Freemasonry for the better. Let's share this screen and let me know if you can hear it. Let me know what you think of that epiphany speech, if you think it makes any sense, if you could hear it well. I know sometimes we have audio troubles, but what you think of that speech as well as the idea behind it and this idea of trying to make the world a better place and how you go about it and how you deal with it when it is challenging. Also, let me know, heck, in the chat, do you like the television show Angel as much as I do? Or what's your favorite TV show? I've really got into Charmed lately. Charmed is probably one of my favorite TV shows. Maybe my favorite TV show of the moment. That Crossing Jordan I always really liked. I got back into Lost. I think Lost is an awesome TV show. Actually, here's something I'm interested in. So I'm going to end that poll. My mother loves that show, Charmed. Well, then your mother is a very smart lady because it's also one of my favorite TV shows. So tell your mother, well done. Clearly, smart, intelligent, good-looking people like the TV show Charmed. It's interesting. We actually had a gentleman who was on the podcast, or not on the podcast, on the live stream maybe a couple weeks ago now. He took the time to write some articles and write a story for us, or do an interview for us, which we published on a Medium page about symbolism in both Westworld, the TV show, and Matrix, the movies, that connected to Freemasonry, which I thought was really cool. Z, Alabama 521 here. Greetings. Greetings. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm assuming Alabama 521 is your Masonic Lodge number. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. If you can, hit the like button and the subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. Alabama 521. As well, let me know how you found us in the chat. Did we just show up on your feed, in your scroll? Do you follow us on social media? How did you discover the Square and Compass live stream? I have never, I'm sad to say, been to a lodge in Alabama. I really, really want to go to one. Actually, I've had a few interviews on my podcast, I should say, with, I believe, some Alabama Masons, if I recall correctly. Let me just see if I'm getting this right. So I'm a member of, I was thinking Arkansas. I got them mixed up. All right. But no, I've never had the chance to visit a lodge in Alabama. I'm a member of 3 lodges, all of them meeting out of the Windsor Masonic Temple in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. I've been to, I'm trying to think the closest I would have ever been to Alabama. Texas. Let me see. But I'll have to get there one day. So how has it been going for you? Or actually, I feel like I did an interview about Alabama. Now it's driving me crazy. No, it looks like not. Out of curiosity, I don't know if you can tell me or not. Who's your grandmother? My grandmother is 403 years old. So, well, there's 3 ages: 403 years old, 579 years old, and 554 years old. But I'm currently the master of Border Cities Lodge, number 554. So my grandmother is 554 years of age, if that's what you mean. Usually when people ask about the grandmother, it's usually a reference to age. How old is your grandmother? And usually we're referencing the number. Needle, I would love to visit the southern lodges like Mississippi, but I don't think it would pan out right. I want to visit those lodges as well. I really do. I feel like outside of Texas, which I feel like Texas is more the West than the South, I haven't had the chance to really visit any southern lodges. Even like Florida, I guess would count as South. I was down to Orlando, but Orlando, it doesn't Florida is a weird state where, like, the further south you go, the less south you feel. If that makes any sense. Like, Orlando doesn't feel as southern to me as I'm guessing it would feel in like Jacksonville. It being okay, the politics down here kind of bum it out, honestly. I think the politics anywhere bum anything out. I don't know if you're referring to politics at like the national level, like presidential elections and things of that nature, which it's unfortunate when that stuff starts to create problems in lodges, or you mean just local Masonic politics and people, which every organization has politics, unfortunately. I don't care whether you're a Mason, Humane Society, whatever it might be, and that can be a major challenge as well, dealing with that type of politics. Um, Courtney, I'm sorry, I meant the 100 on Netflix. Are you referring to TV shows you're watching, Courtney? Um, because I would love to. I've been hearing great things about the 100, so I'm keep meaning to check it out. Needle, mine is 403 and 152. Yeah, so Needle and I both 403. Z, nice. Z, I've never sat in the East. Well, there's still time. I don't know if you're planning on it or if you're going through the officer progression. I will say it's a ton of work and effort, but if you're willing to do it, you have the opportunity to try to make a real impact on people's lives and your lodge's history. And that's a special thing, but you had to be willing to put the time in to do it right. Um, what's the youngest age someone can become a Mason? Depends on the jurisdiction. Actually, Z, if you could put in the chat what the age is in Alabama to become a Mason. In Ontario, it's 21. You have to be at least 21 years of age to become a Mason. So, oh, 21 in Bama as well. Okay, in other places, it's 18. Some places it's 19. What I find is the most common ages are 18, 19, or 21. You just blue or Scottish or York. I am Scottish Rite as well. I'm 18th degree Scottish Rite, so I'm Rose Qua. We don't do all of our degrees in one weekend here. We do one weekend of perfection, Lodge of Perfection, which is 4th degree to 14th degree. One lodge, one weekend where it's the Rose Qua, which is 15th to 18th, and then you go to Hamilton for consistory, which is 19th to 32. So there has been some chatter in Windsor or in Ontario. I don't know if it's ever going to happen about potentially reducing the age of admission from 21 to 18. I'm not sure. We'll see if it happens or not. I think personally, it couldn't hurt anything to give it a shot. Maybe do a thing where you can do it if you're a Lewis. So if you have a family member who's a Mason, you can also allow him to join at 18 instead of having to wait till he's 21. In Detroit, we did ours in one day for Scottish Rite. Yeah, I think most American jurisdictions do that. They just go all the way through. We don't do that in Ontario, and I kind of prefer that in some ways because it gives you it allows you to kind of pick and choose, and you don't have to go all the way if you don't want to. So I think I think ours is preferable to do it that way. But I think actually Z and Bama. Let me know. Do you know in Alabama when you're going to Scottish Rite anyways, do you get all of your from like 4th to 32nd degree all in the course of a weekend or one day? Or do you do it over time? Ours was 1 degree at a time. I think the fast track hurts people, honestly. I agree the fast track hurts people, although it's really interesting to me that when you say 1 degree at a time, does that mean like one day you did the 4th degree and then, the next month you did the 8th degree, for example? Because for us, it's usually we'll go to from 4 to 14 in a weekend. So usually it's like, you get your 4th, 5th, and 7th degree or something on one day, and like the reunions are a little bit different. So yes, needle. Yeah, fast track, you can't you retain it all in one day. I think that's really true. I do believe that as well. I think unfortunately, fast tracking. I think there's a balance, right? But fast tracking as a rule, you do get less out of it as a candidate than if you take your time. Z took me a year. So then are you in Scottish Rite, York Rite, or both? Because like I said, We don't have ciphers here either. Everything is word to mouth. Okay, Scottish. All right. That's really cool. I think I heard that somewhere. Do you believe, based on your experiences, that that helps the craft grow? Or do you think it hinders the craft? What effect do you think it has on the craft altogether to have nothing written down and everything be word to ear? I mean, certainly it's going to force a stronger bond when it comes to mentoring or mentorship, um, than you'd have otherwise, because the candidate is kind of, if he wants to learn it, he's forced to take the time to meet with his mentor, and the mentor is forced to take the time to meet with him as well, right? So I think it intimidates people. Um, I think there should be at least some way to be able to do your work by yourself. OMG, that would be better. I think, yeah, I'm more, I think, on Z's side. Like, I understand the logic of having nothing written down, not even a cipher, but I think from my perspective, like, that kind of puts you at the mercy of, like, if you're alone or whatever and you have the spare time, or you discover you have spare time, having the ability to practice yourself, um I think is a good thing. And if you're not able to, if it has to be completely done word to ear, and you reliant on your mentor, and if your mentor is not available, in some ways that can become wasted time that you could have spent studying if you had the cipher with you, if that makes any sense. By the way, welcome. If you're just joining us, please take a moment, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. The more people we have hitting the like and subscribe button, the better it is for this channel, as well as just in general. Check us out on social media, check us out on Medium, all that good stuff. And thank you, YouTube algorithm, for sending me some more people. The first three, yes, they should be all word to mouth, in my opinion. Well, it might be worth, out of curiosity, do you know how many lodges or how many Masons there exist in Alabama altogether, Z? I'd be curious to know the number. I could look it up on Google as well. I'm not sure if Google would know. Hi, Cameron. Just finished eating steaks I cooked in the air fryer. How were they? How'd they turn out? I think I'm going to buy an air fryer. I got the Scottish Rite points to do so. So I think I may be buying an air fryer very soon. And also, out of curiosity, Dad, how what'd you do for the steaks? Make them rare, medium rare? We'll have to figure out what we want to have for dinner when I come back home, because I was thinking they're not coming home for Christmas, but coming home for your installation. We can have something on the 11th, maybe. Because I'm going to be home from the 10th to the 12th. So maybe on the 11th, we can do something in terms of a dinner of some sort, or Christmas dinner. Maybe you can order some food. We can order some Chinese food. You can decide, or we cook something in the air fryer. But I hope that the steaks were good. Around 24,000 per the Alabama Masonic website. Okay, that's pretty good, actually. What would you say is the, like, if I were ever to be lucky enough to get to visit Alabama, which I really hope to be lucky enough to visit Alabama, what is the like best place to go for Freemasonry in Alabama? I'm trying to think what even the biggest town in Alabama is. Alabama. I'm going to look this up quickly. I'm curious now. Alabama Freemasonry. There's 285 lodges in Bama. That's Helion Lodge in Huntsville. I feel like that's, how many is that member wise? Curious. If I can find a calculator. I can't do math in my head, but I'm generally curious now. So that works out to about 84 members per lodge, Z. Cool. So that seems about right. I feel like that's probably be the same in Ontario in terms of numbers, average number per lodge. DJ2 squared. Dulo the Pilot Man says Freemasonry is trash. Well, I do not like Dulo the Pilot Man then, because I do not believe Freemasonry is trash. Having said that, though, if you want to jump in the chat and say why you think that, maybe we can dispel some misconceptions you may have about it, or talk to you more about it just in general. We got a lot of Masons actually here on the chat as well, and I myself have been a Mason since 2007, so about 14 years, so a long time. They turned out good, but they always seem to be better done on a barbecue. I like mine well done. Yeah, you always did. That's why I always had them when I was a kid, because I like them well done as well. But now I definitely prefer them rare to medium rare. Z, it's one of the bigger ones in my areas. Oh, the Helion Lodge in Huntsville. Okay, I will see if I can't find Helion Lodge in Huntsville. If I ever get the chance to check it out, like I said, I will for sure. DJ2, I don't think that, but oftentimes Dulo, the Pilot Man, has an open panel discourse about it. People like to hate things they don't understand. That is very true. People do like to hate things they don't understand. It's unfortunately. DJ2, he's always bashing it, so maybe you could show him your point of view. Well, DJ2 squared, I'm hoping that maybe you or Dulo, but if you can hit the like and subscribe button, maybe you can follow my podcast and you get more my point of view on Freemasonry and some of the things I think about it through Square and Compass promotions. Might help change your mind. You can ask some questions though as well, like Rando. Can anybody be considered a Mason if they study Masonry and self-proclaim to be one? I mean, no. Well, how do I put it? Like, yeah, I'm just going to say no is the way to describe it. Because, like, technically, okay, so you can call yourself whatever you want, like I can, I can go put a sign on my front door that says, Cameron Adamson's hair salon, and grab a pair of scissors and start, cutting people's hair. But that, I'm going to do a terrible job at it. And I'm not going to, I can call myself a lawyer. I can call myself whatever I want. It's not about what I consider myself to be or proclaim myself to be. It's what others recognize me to be, right? So if I'm walking around saying I'm a Mason, but I've never joined a lodge, I'm not paying dues, then whatever I may self-proclaim isn't going to matter because no one else is going to consider me a Mason, right? To be a Mason, it's not. Mason is, amongst other things, it's a recognition of membership somewhere. So if you want to be able to call yourself a Mason, it's not enough to just study on your own or self-proclaim. You actually have to join and be a member of a lodge. Now, if you don't want to do that, but still in your heart feel that you're a Mason or self-proclaim, I mean, nobody can stop you. But at the end of the day, you're not going to be, you're not going to be a very good Mason. No one else is going to consider you as such. And the amount of studying you'll be able to do will be limited because you won't be a member of a lodge. So any knowledge you have of it is going to come in second-handed, if that makes any sense. Like, you're not getting the full story because you're not experiencing it personally. You're just studying other accounts. And as a non-Mason, you're not necessarily going to know how valid or invalid those accounts are. That's how Cowan Lodges started. Yeah, exactly. Right. So again, I mean, people can, and people do, they can self-proclaim, they can kind of self-proclaim whatever they want, but that's not actually going to be really of any benefit to you. If it makes you feel good, then nobody can stop you. But again, it's not going to, you're not going to be able to visit other Masons. You're not going to be able to travel and visit other Masons. You're not going to be able to attend lodges. No one else is going to recognize you legitimately as a Mason. So I'm not sure how much benefit you would get from that self-proclamation. Again, if that makes any sense. And then you end up with clandestine or Cowan lodges where, again, you have a whole bunch of people who are self-proclaiming to be Masons. And again, I have no problem if a group of guys want to get together and start, something called like an Order of the Eagle or whatever it is. By all means, you feel free to start whatever groups you want to start. But the danger of it is when you start to conflate that with the type of Masonry I'm involved in, because people may get expectations in terms of things like, oh, I joined this Order of the Eagle, so now I'm a Mason, so I can go visit Harmony Lodge 579, and in fact, you're not able to, right? You can't. So, and you don't know what you're reading or being told is on the square. Yeah, and so that's the other issue, right? If you say, well, I'm going to just do my own research and self-proclaim to be a Mason, that's fine, except because you're not a Mason and you're not in lodges, you don't know necessarily if the information that you're reading or the research you're doing is accurate. You just, because on the internet, the thing about the internet is you're going to get a lot of, if you're talking about Freemasonry and the internet, a lot of what you read on the internet about Freemasonry is true, and a lot of it is not true. But unless you're a Mason, you're not going to know which is which. What do you think about the shrine? I think the shrine is great. It's one of the pillars of Freemasonry, right? One of the 4 pillars of Freemasonry. I think that their work as a charitable branch and social branch is vital to the craft and to what we're trying to do. So I think there have been different issues with different concordant bodies, and I think the shrine went through some. But overall, I think they're incredibly important part of the craft, and happy to have them. Harry, you always have to have past tests and past exams being certified in what you say you are, even arriving test before you are certified driver, driving test. Yeah, so just like my dad said, right? Again, you can self-proclaim to be whatever you want to be. You can call yourself anything you want, but if you're not passing or taking the necessary or recognized steps, whatever you call yourself, no one else will recognize you as. And you're not even necessarily going to know if the knowledge you have is correct, right? If you self-proclaim to be a driver before you've passed the test or even taken a driving test, you're going to have no idea if you're doing it correctly or not. So, you kind of, if you want the proclamation to mean anything, you have to be taking some type of certified standardized test or standardized procedure to make what you're claiming matter. I also feel that respect is all you need. You can go far in life with it, just integrity. Definitely respect and integrity are pretty vital to a successful life. I think a successful and a healthy life. And I think people who don't have those things can be really hard. Again, that's not to say, you can drive yourself crazy focusing, just constantly trying to focus on getting respect from people and I think sometimes the first most important thing is, can you respect yourself? Do you respect yourself? And do you know when you look in the mirror that you're trying your best, and you're acting with integrity? And if you can say those two things, then the rest of it hopefully will fall into place as best it can. But you don't necessarily always want to be running around chasing respect from others. You want to, hopefully you just over time you earn respect. My grandfather's always tried, never denied. So I feel where you're coming from, Cameron. Thank you so much, Courtney, for that. Subdue your passions. Always good advice. That is good Masonic advice, as well. So yes, I think subduing one's passions is critical to kind of success in life altogether, which is not always easy for people, not always easy even for me, by the way, to do. But I always try my best to, at least in theory, subdue my passions. Also, once again, Courtney coming out with the heart and the coffee. What state did you say? Not a state. I am north of the border. Actually, that's kind of a lie. I live in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. So the province of Ontario. But it's funny because I said I'm north of the border. Technically, I'm the furthest southern city in Canada. America is actually north of me. Detroit is north of Windsor. So when I look at America, I'm looking north towards Detroit. And then Michigan and Ohio also kind of wrap around and go south of us as well. But yeah, America is north of me. A lot of people didn't know that. My dad, when he visited, didn't know that as well. So I thought that was kind of cool. By the way, so you guys know, I also have a personal YouTube channel where I talk more about, really, that's where I focus on my non-Masonic discussions. I'm going to be doing a live stream on Monday because I'm going to be doing the Salvation Army Christmas kettles, which I do every year. It's a tradition that started 2004, maybe 2003, 2004. No, it would have been 2005 is the first year I did it. And so almost 20 years of doing it now, which is crazy to me. So I'm doing it once again this year. I'm going to be live streaming while I'm doing it just for a few minutes to say hi at my personal page. And then on December 1st at midnight, I'm going to be doing a live stream as well of me watching Hallmark Christmas movies, which is my second favorite type of movie after horror movies. So that's wild. I never knew that. Yeah, it is very, very interesting. It's one of those cool things. Great talking to you, brother. I subbed up. I'll be around. Catch you later. Awesome. And hopefully very soon I'll get to visit, or not even very soon. Hopefully at some point, Z, I will get to visit you guys in Alabama. It's on my list 100%. If nothing else, I suspect the food would be amazing. Every time I visited lodges in the States, especially when I get southern to like Texas, most I've ever been, the food has always been absolutely amazing. So I would love to get a chance to try some more of that. Right. And I know Rando is asking questions about Freemasonry, right? This, I think, goes to show one of the best parts of Freemasonry is if I ever were to visit Alabama, I would get the chance to visit a whole new set of friends I never met before, and get the chance to meet all my brothers in Alabama. And as they said, I'd be welcome. So, I mean, how incredible would that be? And I do some podcast episodes from there as well. Nicholas Ramirez says, hello, Nicholas. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for yesterday, some of your book suggestions. That was awesome as well, or your book suggestion for Alien. He has arrived. He is here now. So thank you, Nicholas, for joining. Please, guys, if you haven't done so yet, hit the like button and the subscribe button. The more people we get hitting the like and subscribe, the better it is for this stream and for the channel in general. And also the hearts and the emojis there, all that stuff is super helpful as well. I'm not sure how much longer I'll be doing this stream for, but I do plan to do another one tomorrow for a significant portion of the day. So hopefully we can you can hang out with us again tomorrow. How was your night with your friend last night? It was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. It was a blast. It was late. I got in at like 4 in the morning, so I'm very tired today, but it was still a lot of fun. So yeah, no, it was great. It was a great time. How about you? How was your night? You were reading a book, right? You're planning to read more of what, A Christmas Carol? We had a lot of fun. Although now today I got a lot of work I got to catch up on because I did the live stream, then I went out with my friend. I should have spent more time actually doing work. I got to send out my summons to, at some point. So skipping Christmas, that's right, and almost done. So is it a good book? Would you recommend it? Oh, Rando, do you think it's true it may take the average Joe to study 40 years before learning many things that are discussed in private about the natural world? I don't know about 40. I mean, 10,000 hours is what they say, right? I don't know if it's true. Let me just see if I can pull this up here. There's like a 10,000 hour rule. The 10,000 hours rule is a popular concept that suggests it takes 10,000 hours of practice to master a complex skill. So I don't know if it would take actually like 40 years before learning many things of the. I don't know if it would take 40 years necessarily to learn, but I mean, I think it's not about time, right? It's like you're always learning new things. You're always rediscovering certain things as well. So I don't know if I would say that I wouldn't put a time limit on it. I think if you want to learn about the natural world, if you want to learn about anything, then don't set a time limit on it. It's not about 40 years or 10 years or 50 years. So long as you're alive and so long as you exist, you should be trying to learn. The world is too amazing to not at least spend some time trying to learn as much as you can about it. I think sometimes I think that's what learning should be focused on first and foremost, right? Especially as an adult. When you're a kid, you kind of you learn because you got to, you got to learn how to read, you got to learn how to write, you got to learn how to do arithmetic, you got to learn math, you got to learn things because you need those skills to survive in the world. But once you become an adult, then it should be more about learning just for the love of learning. And Freemasonry really does emphasize that. In a lot of its rituals, we're discussed and we're reminded, or the importance of learning is discussed, and the necessity of learning is kind of foisted upon Mason to be a student of Freemasonry and of the liberal arts and sciences. So it basically, well, I think it depends on the student. I also think more it's just, I don't think there's a time limit on it. I think you could be the smartest person in the world and you could spend 40 years learning about the natural world. And once those 40 years are up, you're still going to have more to learn. And you're still not going to know as much as you could. And that could be true for 50, 60, 70. So I think it's more about it depends on the student in the sense that if the student is a genuinely curious person, they're going to want to spend every year they're alive 40, 50, 60, 70 years learning, not just so yeah, if that makes any sense. Cameron, are the chat members allowed to give you gifts or is that against protocols? Well, I mean, I always appreciate gifts, but you can mail to them to the address for Spring Conference Promotions, or you could just go to Patreon there and gift a membership that way. That would also be excellent. I would appreciate any Patreon memberships that we can get. We would appreciate, obviously. I will be, as I was saying, I will be sending to you guys very shortly, Courtney, a Scale Model Masonic Temple. I'm supposed to get them next week. So once I get them, I will let you know. And yeah, the problem is we have a Canada Post strike right now. So it's unfortunate because I'm not able to mail stuff out, including my Christmas cards, which is something I always like to do every year, but hopefully I'll get to do it soon. Courtney or Nicholas Ramita, no novels though. Yes, don't send me novels. They might end up getting a little bit ripped up, but it's fine. UPS, yeah, but UPS is so much more expensive than Canada Post, just especially for Courtney, I may do that, but for just Christmas cards, I hate, I'd rather just use a stamp if I could. I have a whole bunch of them. So we'll see. We'll give it time. It is unfortunate that some people suffer from dementia and cannot remember what they learned, so enjoy what you learn now. Well, I mean, yeah, I think that's true. That's also just true of life in some ways, right? Like, you don't know how much time you've got. You don't know what tomorrow will bring. So enjoy, just enjoy the moments that you got and just be grateful for them. This comedian I really like, a guy called Ricky Gervais. I think he said it really well. He was an atheist, so he didn't believe in an afterlife at all, which I'm not sure I believe that, but I loved what he said about it. He said life is a vacation from non-existence. So he said, like, you don't exist and then you're born, and because you're born, you get to do things like look at beautiful pictures, look at sunsets, swim in lakes, eat cheese, drink wine, look at beautiful women, look at all of these things, and enjoy all of these things that exist in the world that you are lucky enough to get to be a part of. And then you die and you don't exist again. So in the meantime, of these two states of non-existence, you get this little vacation where you get to enjoy all the wonderful things that the world has to offer and look at all the wonderful things. And I think even though I'm not necessarily sure, I believe there's something after we die. I do like that idea. I think that's a good way to look at it. We're lucky that we get to be on this earth for however long we get to be on this earth for. So we should kind of treat it a little bit like a vacation from whatever came before and whatever comes after. The beautiful thing about learning is no one can take it from you. I mean, knowledge is one of those things that, yeah, if you've got it, you've got it, right? And unless you get, unfortunately, dementia or something to that extent, hopefully you get it and you can keep it and use it some way. Nicholas Ramita, they don't. I'm not sure who the they is there. Courtney, education is the passport to the future. It was definitely the passport to our ability to help people or our ability for a better future. I think that's 100% the case. That the extent to which our future will be better is going to be based on how educated we are and how educated the population is. So no, I 100% agree with that. And again, Masonry encourages lifelong learning. I talk about that a lot on Medium. Let me see if I can share this quickly. If I can find it. All right, let's see. I'm just waiting to talk about this on a Medium article. So I'd love to share that. If I could find it now, that would be the question. It's one of the interviews I did. Still trying to find it. Don't worry, I'm still here. I'm just trying to find where I talk about this. Here it is. This is one of them I did. I'm going to share the screen in just 1 second. Atheists don't believe in an afterlife. Yeah, so an atheist doesn't believe in an afterlife. So like I said, Ricky Gervais just more had the idea of life as a vacation from non-existence. Teachers can open the door, but one has to enter himself. That's often true, right? That's often the case. Let me see if I can share this screen. Just 1 second. Interview with, let's give it a second to show up there. Interview with Dr. H. Philip Stahl, Senior Optical Physicist at NASA Marshall Space Flight Center. And he talks about it here. To be a Freemason, or I talk about it here, to be a Freemason is to be a lifelong learner, especially in the area of liberal arts and sciences, especially in the area of geometry. Space exploration, especially as it relates to our modern understanding of the universe, is inexorably connected to ideas of and related to geometry, along with other areas of science. Square and Compass has had the pleasure of interviewing several NASA and other scientists regarding space exploration, modern understandings of space and the universe, and the ways in which geometry informs our understanding of the universe. We are proud on this date to present our interview with Dr. Philip Stahl, Senior Optical Physicist at Marshall Space Flight Center for Freemasons. In particular, his explanation as to connections between geometry and space exploration are fascinating. Oop, that should be is. His explanations, or I should have said explanation is fascinating. Well, I just discovered a grammar error. Actually, I can change that. You're seeing behind the curtain here now. You're seeing me edit my story in real time. I like that picture. Is fascinating. There we go. Going to save and publish that. Let's see if we can go back now and check out. Here it is. I don't know if you guys can see this. I'm just going to give it a second. The most interesting connection between geometry and space is gravity. Gravity stretches and distorts space. Maybe you've heard of gravitational lenses in space caused by massive objects, changing how light travels through the space around that object. Also, the gravitational fields in space sometimes cause the easiest path between 2 points to be something other. So just a little example of the way geometry affects our ability to understand the entire universe, or the scientist's ability to understand the entire universe. A little explanation of that. Is there luncheon at the temple this week? Not this week. I mean, there's some meetings, but there's not really any luncheons. The next one will be December 4th at 12 o'clock. So you can make it for that one. That would be great. Courtney, you'll be welcome to join us for lunch at that time. We have our last meeting of Border Cities Lodge, and then we go on. At Courtney, it's like a snowball rolling down a mountain. Which, the picture that I posted? These ones here. If I can find it now. I guess it kind of does. I think these were taken by the Webb Space Telescope, by the way. I posted a lot of stuff about the Webb Telescope lately. So please, if you're just joining us, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. The more likes and subscriptions we get, the more people will be able to find us and find this stream. It was actually my neighbor's birthday today, and I got a piece of birthday cake from her. She gave me one, so I'm very happy about that. Once this is done, I'm going to go grab a coffee and have some delicious birthday cake. So it's nice when things work out well that way. And then I got some stew, and then I've got to do some work. I've got to catch up on all of my I got to send out my summonses, and I got to do a bunch of stuff. I got to get a bunch of stuff all finished over the summer, or over I should say winter, before the winter break. I don't know if any Masons are on here watching this, especially if you're secretaries or administrative people. You know what that's like to be stuck having a Christmas and New Year's. Rando looks like a face. Which one? The one on the top left, and like the these two here. I never really thought, but I guess it kind of does look like a face a little bit. Relu, hi. Welcome. Thank you for joining us in the chat. We're here talking about all sorts of different things, but Freemasonry is the general conversation. If, by the way, you are able to, Relu, I'm hoping you can hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. Liking and subscribing helps other people find us and find our chat, and I appreciate it if you did so. What is Freemasonry? Well, you've asked quite the question there, and I was going to be jumping off soon. The simple answer is Freemasonry is a fraternity. It's the oldest fraternity in the world, which means it is a organization where men, and there is also, by the way, the one order of women Freemasons, but when you talk about Freemasonry, it's where a group of men gather and meet with, and the purpose is just that, to gather, right? But then what they do when they gather will depend partly on the lodge, but primarily it's a focus on supporting each other, through different means. It could be emotional support, financial support, if a brother is sick or loses his job or his wife gets sick, as well as education about the world at large and Freemasonry, as well as potentially charitable work, charitable endeavors, as well as almost philosophical inklings. So there's a lot of different things that a Masonic lodge will engage in, but the goal, Freemasonry at its core, is a fraternity. And like any fraternity, that means its purpose is to gather together with each other. So that is what Freemasonry is. Like I said, Relo, I'm hoping you can hit the like button and the subscribe button. That helps out huge with the algorithm. Courtney Cameron, what is the best motivational quote for class today? A cool thought. Yeah, okay, that's a good one, actually. If anybody wants to jump in, if you have any motivational quotes, please, by all means, put it in the chat. I've got a few that I can think of. I'm trying to think of my favorite one, though. That might be a good place to leave it for today, actually. Skull and Bones. That is another fraternity. I don't know anything about it. Welcome back, by the way, Tone. It's good to see you again. You were here yesterday, and thank you so much for coming back today. I really do appreciate it. I'm trying to think of what my favorite motivational quote might be. Do we even have a motivational quote? I mean, the Be Perfect stuff from Friday Night Lights. Actually, I know what it might be. And I've actually talked about this on Medium as well. This is something when I'm kind of feeling sad a little bit, I like to listen to. Maybe. All right, hold on just one sec. Maybe if I could get this, I think this place to, oh, here it is. This might be a good place to leave it. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Winston Churchill. That's a great one. I absolutely support that one 100%. I'm going to go with, just keep stepping is one that I used to hear that I like, but I think I'm going to go with this one here. Let me see if I can share the screen. Let's play this, and then I think I'm going to turn off for today, but I do want to do another one of these tomorrow. So once I can,
if you don't know if everything's going to be okay, I'm sending you this audio text right now and just saying, hey, bro, everything's going to be okay. You're doing good. You're okay as you are. If you don't know if you're a good brother, you don't know if you're a good.
Let's see if I can actually. That's a good one too, but I think I'm going to start with this one, and then we'll go on to the next one. This is Theo Vaughn. He's a great comic.
Everything's going to be okay. Everything you're worried about is going to be okay. That too, whatever it is, that also is going to be fine. You got this, baby boy. I love you, man. I'm excited for you. Everything's going to be okay. Everything you're worried about is going to be okay. That too, whatever it is, that also is going to be fine. You got this, baby boy. I love you, man. I'm excited for you. Everything's going to be okay.
Let's listen to this one too.
If you don't know if everything's going to be okay, I'm sending you this audio text right now and just saying, hey, bro, everything's going to be okay. You're doing good. You're okay as you are. If you don't know if you're a good brother, you don't know if you're a good boyfriend, you don't know if you're a good husband, you don't know if you're a good wife, you don't know if you're a good human. Wherever you are, you're okay, and that everything is going to be fine. And I don't even know why I'm saying that right now, but I feel some type of way, bro, and I feel really compelled to say that. Praise God, man. If you don't know if everything's going to be okay, I'm sending you this audio text right now and just saying, hey, bro, everything's going to be okay. You're doing good. You're okay as you are. If you don't know if you're a good brother, you don't know if you're a good boyfriend, you don't know if you're a good husband, You don't know if you're a good wife. You don't know if you're a good human. Wherever you are, you're okay, and that everything is going to be fine. And I don't even know why I'm saying that right now. But I feel some type of way, bro, and I feel really compelled to say that. Praise God, man. If you don't know if
Nito, I
everything's
can
going to
send
be
that to you. I
okay,
can send it to you for sure.
I'm sending you this audio text. Will you be sad if you die, you think?
I think I'll be dead, bro.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'd be sad if you died.
Oh, thank you. I'd be sad if you died too.
Thanks, man. I would be.
Do you worry about the end of your life?
Yeah, I worry about it in the sense it makes you really wonder then what does my time mean?
What does your time mean? Like, what's important to you in this life right now?
I think probably just feeling more okay with myself, probably, and trying to have maybe help other people.
Being more okay with yourself. Like, what bothers you about yourself?
I just wish I just felt more comfortable in my own skin a lot of times, because I feel like I would be able to be more effective as a person if I could just, if small self-worth issues or like lack of confidence at times. I wish I could trust my instincts, and I wish my instincts were like better calibrated. Will you be sad if you die, you think?
We'll listen
I
to
think
this
I'll be
stuff
dead.
one more time and then we'll call it. But I think there's some good stuff to listen to.
If you don't know if everything's going to be okay, I'm sending you this audio text right now and just saying, hey, bro, everything's going to be okay. You're doing good. You're okay as you are. If you don't know if you're a good brother, you don't know if you're a good boyfriend, you don't know if you're a good husband, you don't know if you're a good wife, you don't know if you're a good human. Wherever you are, you're okay, and that everything is going to be fine. And I don't even know why I'm saying that right now. But I feel some type of way, bro, and I feel really compelled to say that. Praise God, man. If you don't know if everything's going to be okay, everything you're worried about is going to be okay.
Which one do you want, Needle? Do you want the first one or the second one or the third one? I can send you all three. Rando, by the way, Thomas Jefferson was a Mason, right? Yes, he was. At least I believe he was. Yeah, Needle positive he was. Needle, all three. All right, I can send you all three. But you can search it as well. If you just look what I typed into YouTube, Theo Vaughn, you're going to be okay. You get a bunch of stuff. Theo Vaughn's one of those dudes. He's cool like that. He's always like, I don't know. I've seen a few things where he talks to guys struggling with drug problems and alcohol problems, and he's super cool that way about like, talking to people who are struggling. Excuse me. Talking to people who are struggling. So I'm just kind of curiosity now. If I were just to type this in, what would pop up? You're going to be okay. See what pops up out of curiosity. I guess I should also do it correctly, or grammatically correctly. This is kind of interesting. Let's see what this one guy is saying. Well, right now this is an advertisement, so I got to get past this. Here we go. All right, I'm not sure what this is going to be, but this might be a fun place to leave it. Cameron, our live chat was wonderful. Enjoy myself. Looking forward to tomorrow. Yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow as well. Let me see if we can end it maybe here. A nice little bit of motivation. Why not? Nicholas Ramita watching Fred Claus and then Frosty the Snowman. I remember I really liked that when I saw it. I thought it was really funny. All right, let me just give this a second. It usually takes a second or two to pop up. So I just want to wait. Oh, it looks like we got the screen sharing. All right. Let's see what this guy says. If this is a positive motivational speech on which to. Oh, there you go. I think that's kind of a fun place or good place to leave it. And good advice, keeping the faith. You can apply for Masonry as well as everything else, right? If you're struggling with Freemasonry or Masonically, or your lodge is struggling, or you're trying to grow your lodge and it's a challenge, or you're having trouble with membership, or you're having trouble with your finances, whatever it is when it comes to your lodge, just keep the faith that if you just keep working hard at it and you keep trying your best at it, you're going to find success and you're going to be okay. At least that's always been my experience. The harder you work, the longer you work, over time, you're going to find success. With that, thank you guys so much for joining us for this live stream. It's been a blast. I do plan to do another one of these tomorrow. I'm not sure what the time is going to be yet. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Have a great night.